Hi YouTube, Repo Man 64. We're still here. That's not exciting. We want to go home, and we want to go home now. A lot of people in the comment section are like, after May 14th, I don't know what to look at. After the blood moon, I don't know what to look at. I want to remind you that there is example after example in the Bible of one event ending and another one beginning. Could it be that on May 14th, that event ended? But there is a law in Israel that you can go buy a car right now. I think here, somebody put in my comment section here in the United States, 3 days you can return the vehicle if you don't like it. In Israel, it's 7 days. You can return anything that you purchase, that you decide, even if you sign your name, and you can go back and return it. It takes 7 days for that contract to be fulfilled. There's something about the Galilean wedding. The salvation is the cup, and you receive the cup, and you drink from the cup, and that proves that you're accepting of the salvation. The salvation is all of the Lord, lest any man shall boast. Always remember that. John 6:44. God brings the cup, and there's nothing you've done that's worthy of salvation. However, when you drink that cup and you take and say yes, just like at the Mount, when Moses came down and said, choose today who you will serve, who you will follow. You're going to stay there with your golden calf, or you want to come up here in the mountain with me. There are so many examples, and I've got a few, but there's a lot more, of the 7 days for the contract to be fulfilled, and I'll show you a few of them now. I got on here I was kind of waiting until after the blood moon, completely closed out to make a video. Harold Camping, 11 years ago, almost to the day, predicted that Jesus would return and take us away. We've been looking at this for a long time. And 11 years is a very big number, and his date was May 21st, and it would be May 22nd in Israel. And his thought process was that on May 14th, Israel became a nation, and then on the 21st, 7 days later, after there is no return. You sign the contract. After 7 days, there is no returning the item. You're in there, and that's it. And this war that's going on in heaven, they're not up there stabbing each other. They are up there in court, and it's a battle in court. And you see a few examples of this in the Bible, where when Moses died, Satan brought a railing accusation against God, and I don't remember the name of the angel. I'm going to forget the name of the angel right now. Maybe I'll remember in a second, but you probably already know, and you put in the comment section for me. But this angel argued back, fought back. You know, they weren't stabbing each other with knives or swords or anything. They were arguing back. Says, you don't know what you're talking about. In other words, it's in the rules. It was in the rules that Moses' body would be hidden from Satan. I read up on it. There was a lot of comments of their thought process was that the reason that Satan wanted the bones of Moses was to cause this group of people who they would fall they would trip and fall constantly over anything. If God gave them manna for too long, they would cry about it. If they walked too far, they would cry about it. These guys are walking around for 40 years and their clothes never got old. Their shoes never wore out. They never smelled. God kept them for those 40 years while they did that walking. And that in and of itself for me would have been manna. I'll eat manna every day. I don't care, you know. But this was a hard-headed group of people, and they complained about everything. And so, at any rate, let me go to the Pictures. This is the timeline right here. On May 14th, 2022, Israel, in fact, became 74 years old. If you go 7 days, you're going to wind up on May 21st, or completion of 7 days would be May 22nd. I find it crazy how Sivan 6 winds up landing exactly on that. I'll tell you what, going through this and this timeline that I've made, the dates that are lining up with certain events are astounding. They just, you can't make it happen. It just happens. When I use and there's 4 different calendars that we use. I've decided, you know what, let's not stick to just my Equinox calendar. Let's go for all of the calendars. I've used 4 of them. I've used the Equinox, which the year starts on March 17th. Up there, I've used the Equinox, which the year starts on March 21st. I used the first sliver of the moon after the equinox, which did in fact happen on April the 3rd. And I use Aries, when the sun reaches Aries, the first sliver of the moon, which in fact was May 2nd. I heard somebody else in a video saying it was May 3rd. We might be a day off on the bottom line there. For that. So you have Jesus on the cross, and you can apply all of those dates. We know he was on there in the first month on the 14th day. We don't know what calendar they were using. But isn't it crazy how May 16th, on the first sliver of the moon in Aries, lands right on the blood moon, right on it. I mean, that's wild that even happened. Jesus rises 3 days later on May the 19th, which is tomorrow, which would be early in the morning tomorrow if we were using the first sliver of the moon in Aries. We go forward over here. The second Passover has passed, but 3 days. You got to give it 3 days. You would wind up on the 17th, 18th, and 19th. You would wind up on where Jesus ascends on the Equinox. See how the calendars jumble back and forth, but they're all the dates are meaning something. And so finally, we wind up here, and I wanted to point something else out to you. IR5, if you use the first sliver of the moon after the sun reaches Aries, does land on June the 6th. I found that interesting that jumped out like that. A lot of people are looking at June the 5th, the 6th. I'm going to forget her site. She has a little YouTube, but she's been saying June 5th and 6th for a very long time. And River Theater. I hate to. I'll put it in the comments section below after the video. But she's been saying that for a very long time. Let me put this on here. I don't discount anybody. You'll never see me talking bad about anyone. You'll never see me say that person's wrong or this person's wrong. You'll never hear that, because at this point, I don't care who you are, we don't have it yet. Not until that angel stands at the foot of our bed and tells us. When somebody says, oh, I've seen the number 1111 or 726 all over the place, I don't discount that. Even though I don't see that, that's not my cup. That's not what I have. What I have are these timelines and these calendars that I've lined up. That's my thing. There are people who have dreams nonstop. There's one guy on there whose kid has a dream every other night about the end of the world. And I'm just like, wow, I don't discount anyone. We're all part of the body. Then you have these people going on there saying that tickling ears. This is nowhere near tickling ears. Is the pastor that's up there telling you you're going to go to heaven no matter what if you'll donate me $1 million. That's tickling your ears. This, trying to figure this out, is not even close to that. That's annoying when I see that. I don't get flustered very often by any comments. Really, they don't bother me. I just simply go by them if they're silly, and if they're good comments. I really like the good. 99.9% of the comments are helpful people trying to figure this out. And I want you to know, remember, every part of your body, your nose, your eyes, what's left of my hair, your ears, Your smile, your hands. It's all different parts, and each part can't do the other part's work. Can't. Can't understand. The nose cannot understand the hand. Can't. But the nose can't smell until the hand puts the item in front of the nose to smell it. Why does the hand do that? Well, because the nose needs to smell it. So every part of your body and every single one of us that are trying to figure this, everyone who's in here, just like, and there's nobody that I know on YouTube that's in it for just money. I've never asked for a dime myself. I never will. But you have these huge pastors, televangelists. They're just up there for the money. They're just flashy and crazy hair and everything else. Maybe I'm just jealous. I don't know. But I'm not going to judge even them. I just don't watch them. I don't have any time for that. I'm trying to figure this out for everyone, and that's my part. And so many people there. Wackadoodle Simone's back on YouTube. That's good. We're happy to see that. Got a Minute. Aaron over Got a Minute is fantastic. His talent is music, and he puts a lot of stuff to music. And he's funny, and he brings the gospel in a different way. And so I want just to remind you that every part. Maybe it's not your cup of tea. I don't see dragon in the sky. I've looked. I don't see it. It doesn't mean it's not there. That's not for me to see. Maybe I don't have the eyes to see that. Jeffrey McGaha does. And there's just so many. Ken Potter with his 2 cents. I love his videos. I could go on and on. I could Tony Early. I could go on nonstop. Ecru Symphony. They're just all fantastic, but they're all different parts, and they all bring different things to the table. And I want you to remember that when you're watching them. I don't like that. Okay, that's fine. You don't have to like everything, but there's good parts in there. I'm not here to give you the date that Jesus is going to return because I don't know. What I am here to do is to give you information that maybe one of you out there, I can't be the only one looking at timelines. Ecru Symphony does look at timelines. I like that about her. But some mathematician out there is going to see all these dates. And again, you can find this timeline on endtime-studies.com, and you can also find it in the community section. I posted it in the community section under my YouTube page, and you can go in there and look at it. And maybe you'll see something that I'm not seeing, or some number that just jumps out at you. So let me get back to that. I just wanted to remind you we're all part of the body, and we all need to work together on this. So here we come forward, and on Pentecost, this is when the Holy Spirit was sent down, on the equinox, the first day of the year being March 17th, the calendar that I've mostly looked at for the past year. It lands on May 22nd. How does that happen? How? Sivan 6 could have landed anywhere. It could have landed on May 25th. It could have landed on May 15th. How does the numbers work out so well to land on that? I've circled several of them that just are contrast. They just jump out at you. It's not just the equinox. You have the first sliver of the moon after the equinox, right there, May 17th. All these dates jump out. IR5, June 6th. You just have all this stuff that jumps out at us. May 19th, tomorrow, Jesus rises, according to the first sliver of the moon, after the sun reaches Aries. There's just so much of this going on. I found this. Some of you don't want to see Enoch at all, and some of you know that Enoch 1, they found the Dead Sea Scrolls, and they pieced them together, and it turns out that Enoch 1 is identical. They have found that Enoch 1 is identical to the Dead Sea Scrolls that was written. They're assuming hundreds of years before before Jesus came, and perhaps around the time of the flood, that Noah might have put them in there, or one of his descendants might have put them over there at the Dead Sea where they would keep. But let's read this from Enoch. Enoch, thou scribe of righteousness, go declare to the watchers of the heavens. Now, back before the flood, the watchers And you can only imagine when you are a criminal and you have done something horrendous, you are always watching. You're looking over your shoulder. You know God at any moment could strike you down. They knew. They came straight from heaven. These angels that came from heaven knew who God was. They knew everything about him. They saw the holy city. They saw everything up there. There is no surprise to them. So they're here, and they're watchers of the heaven who have left the high heaven, the holy eternal place. Why? Why did I can't wrap my mind around this. I cannot wrap my mind around the angels, a third of the angels falling with Satan because, and I'll tell you why they did it. They were jealous. They were jealous that we were created in the image of God. Our DNA has the name of God written on it. The angels' DNA does not. The angels cannot be saved by salvation. They are created. They worship God because they were created. We worship God because we were saved. Period. That's the only reason. When God created us in his image to look like him with our DNA and gave us the breath of life, Satan flipped. He lost his mind. He was so upset over that concept that he rebelled and took a third of the angels with him. And this is a story about that. And then it goes on to say, and have defiled themselves with women. Now, we always see images online of these giants with little tiny human women. That's not true at all. The angels were human-sized. They took themselves wives of the women, and they procreated, and that's where the Nephilim came from. The Nephilim were giants because of the mixture of the angel DNA and the human DNA. Satan was trying to ruin the DNA of man and was almost successful until the flood, when God destroyed them all, and the 8 people on the ark were pure of, it was God's DNA. They were pure. Let's see here. And have taken unto themselves wives. Ye have wrought great destruction on the earth. They are the cause of the flood. God didn't wake up one day and say, let me smash the earth. He had no choice. They caused this. They sinned greatly. They have wrought great destruction on the earth. Everybody tries to why did God do, why, that's so terrible. No, those people did not have the DNA of God. They were not supposed to be here. That was Satan trying to corrupt God's perfect DNA. And ye shall have no peace nor forgiveness. You see that? They have no peace, nor do they have forgiveness. They cannot be forgiven. There is only one creature that can be forgiven, and that is the human creature, a man and a woman, with our DNA, with the name of God, with the breath of life from God. We are the only one that can be forgiven. They came to Enoch and asked Enoch to petition God to allow them to be included because their children, the Nephilim, were innocent, right? They didn't have anything to do with this, but God said, no, I'm sorry, but forgiveness is for this people. That's us. We are all descendants. Every single one of us is a descendant from the 8 that was on Noah's ark. Have wrought great destruction on the earth, and ye shall have no peace nor forgiveness of sin. They cannot be forgiven of sin. All we have to do is ask. That's all we have to do. They wish that they could have what we have. They dream about having what we have, the ability to turn our back on God. They can't. They know who he is. They were in heaven with him. We can because I haven't seen him. I've seen him working in my life, but I haven't physically seen him standing in front of me going, or carry me to heaven like he did Enoch, so that I could see everything. These angels knew, these fallen angels knew who he was, and yet they still chose to come down here. And inasmuch as they delight themselves in their children, say they loved their children. They loved the Nephilim. That was their children. They tried to get their children under the forgiveness of sin dispensation, and God said, no, That's not the rules. The rules are this DNA that I have created, not your bloodline that you've created. That DNA strand is not going to be, cannot be forgiven because they don't have the DNA that God created in the image of God. Satan thought that he would do that, and he was wrong, of course. He's always wrong. The murderer of their beloved ones shall they see, and over the destruction of their children shall they lament. The angels will see this, and they shall cry. I don't think the angels could die during the flood. I know that the Nephilim could and did, but I don't think the angels could. I think the angels are eternal. Honestly, I think they're going to go to a place called hell, lake of fire, and stay in there forever. And they are never going to be able to be released from that lake of fire, and I don't think they can die. And shall make supplication unto eternity. Forever, forever they will be asking God, please, please forgive us. There is no, let me repeat this, there is no forgiveness of sin than anyone other than us, than human beings. We are a special group of people. We walk around whimsically every day with the DNA of God in us, and we don't even remotely act like it half the time. But mercy and peace shall ye not attain. We walk around. Can you wrap your mind around that? Going to a quiet place and asking the Lord, your Creator, your Father, your DNA made specifically and directly by Almighty God Himself, and He breathed into our nostrils and gave us life. He knitted us together from our mother's womb. And we have this special bond, a special thing that called forgiveness of sin that we have right in front of us. I hand you this cup. Do I have a cup in here? I don't have a cup in here. I used to have a cup with jellies in it, with jelly beans in it. I don't know what happened to it. I hand you this cup. Will you not take this cup and drink from this cup? Do you know who you are? You are on this planet. Have strength in that. Be confident in that. Don't be so messed up and upset over a date. That literally is irrelevant. This is going to happen. The Bible promises it will, and it could happen at any second. The things that have needed to pass have passed. May 14th had to pass. May 16th, the blood moon had to pass. We had to have the sun go into darkness, which happened last year, and we had to have the blood moon, which happened this year. The bride, doesn't she go to her chambers and wait for a year and then some for her groom to come back? So hang in there. Don't get discouraged. Please don't get discouraged. Do you know who you are? Each and every single one of you, part of the body, created by God, DNA with His name written on it, the breath that you breathe every day, Yahweh, Yahweh. You breathe it every single moment of your life, and how precious you are. Go to a quiet place. Like I've always said, go to a quiet place and accept Him in your heart. Let me continue. Sorry, I get off on a tangent on that because just the thought of that is massive. And reading Enoch and realizing that these Nephilim, through no fault of their own, their parents are angels. Their mothers are human. Their DNA is mixed up. There is no provision for salvation and the repentance of sin for them, because this DNA strand that we all carry, every single human being on this planet, I don't care where you're from, what side of the planet you're on, I don't care. You carry the same DNA I do. You cannot find one human on any part of the globe that cannot have a child with another human, a man and a woman. I had to say that for some reason. But you cannot find that anywhere on the planet where the two people cannot have a child. Oh, no, you can't mix those two. No. You won't find that. Anyone can have a child with any other human being, period. We're all the same. So for that concept, I sit there and think about that sometimes, how fantastic and how what a precious gift we have. We have the gift of forgiveness. The angels have the gift of created. They are different. They are not the same, and they will never be included in what we have. And that's what drove Satan nuts. And that's why he went off the deep end like he did and threw away. We could have laughed and had fun like we will with the angels, the 2/3 of the angels that are still there. We could have laughed and joked and had fun with them, and they say, you know what? Now that the process is over, because Satan didn't understand. He didn't understand. He wouldn't have killed Jesus on the cross. He didn't understand. Now that the process is over, which it's coming soon, could happen any second. I don't see any reason why it can't happen any second now that these very important dates have passed. But now that this is passed and we get to heaven, that's when the angels will go, oh, we were created. That's why we worship God. They were saved. That's why they worship God. And that's what is the difference. And who's to say? And I can tell you, because of what we know, we'll never fall like the third of the angels did. But who's to say that there's not another group that are not saved and not created? Who knows? I mean, I don't know. Who cares? I'm a part of the salvation group. That's my group. The angels can stand over here and say, I'm a part of the creation group. That's my group. We can't mix. We can't mix. But we can have stories over, oh man, when I was on earth, oh, this happened and that happened, and God, and you know what? God's there with you all along, and you half the time don't even realize it. You're stressing over stuff, and God's standing right behind you, right in front of you. He's all around. He hears everything and sees. Anyway, let me get off of this. I'll keep going. I'm sorry. All right, on to the next one. This is us in heaven. Children will be able to lay around with lions, and lambs and lions will lie together. And so it's going to be perfect. There will be no harm, hurt, foul, nothing. Everybody will get along together. All right, Feast of Weeks. That's that date I showed you earlier, Sivan 6. The Feast of Weeks. It's a Jewish holiday that occurs on the 6th day of the Hebrew month of Sivan. They never know when it is because they use the new moon after after the equinox. Some people are still using, because it is written in, I think it's Leviticus, where they looked at the new moon after the sun reaches Aries. And I'm not going to discount anything because I don't know for certain. I want to show you the 7-day contract. It's all over the Bible, and I'm going to show you a few examples, and I'm sure that you know of many, many others. This is Genesis 7. It tells Noah, for yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth. The flood was supposed to happen on October the 24th, but God gave a 7-day stay, and you can find this in the book of Enoch and the Legend of the Jews, and the reason was because, what was his name? The longest lived one, Methuselah. Because Methuselah did not want to be counted amongst the wicked and asked to die before the flood, and Methuselah actually died 1 week before the flood on October the 24th, if you're using the equinox now, October the 24th. October the 31st is when the flood began. So you have a 7-day example here. Again, Laban, the father of both Leah and Rachel, he wakes up in the morning, realizes that he has Leah, and he asks, wherefore then hast thou beguiled me? And Laban said, it must not be so done in our country to give the younger before the firstborn. Guess who we are? We are the younger. The firstborn is, we are the firstborn. I said that backwards. We are the firstborn. We are Leah. The younger is going to be Rachel. We are an example of Leah. Fulfill her week. God will give us a week or 7 years. And then after that, God is he's going to turn, after 7 days, he'll turn his attention to Israel. After 7 days, he will turn his attention to Israel, and for 7 years, they will go through tribulation and great tribulation. So there's another 7-day example right there. After 8 days, so 7 days have passed, and on the 8th day, this is why I say May 21st and May 22nd. You have the 21st as being the 7th day and the 22nd as being the 8th day, and it just so happens it falls right there. It doesn't have to, but it sure does. It just falls right there. I can't change when the equinox starts. I can't change that, but it's amazing how it falls on May 22nd, Pentecost. After 8 days, again, his disciples were within and Thomas with them. Then came Jesus, the doors being shut, and stood in the midst and said, "Peace be unto you." Here's another 8th day. And in the 8th day they made a solemn assembly, for they kept the dedication of the altar 7 days, and the feast 7 days. So you can see that this example of 7 days or complete days, 7 complete days. The 8 days not counting, but that's when it takes place. So there's and again, I don't know if it's going to happen on May the 21st or not, but it is 7 days from when Israel became a nation, and it's almost like, is that war going on in heaven right now? Did the war begin on May 14th? And on May 21st, we go 22nd in Israel. So I don't know. I just came on here to give you some encouragement, to remind you who you are. You are very important, and this event will take place, and we're going to continue to try to figure it out. And one of these days, I'll just be standing here like this, trumpet blasts will go off, and we'll go up. And I'll have a full head of hair when we get up there. So, Repo Man 64, just keep watching. If you find anything, if you hear of anything, please put it in the comments section. I love the comments about, I'm seeing this number all day long, and there's people. I think Wackadoodle Simone said he woke up at 3:33 in the morning. Stuff like that doesn't happen to me. I don't see that kind of stuff. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So if you don't believe in that type of stuff, hold it. You just belong to another part of the body that can't see that. Accept it. That the Holy Spirit is bringing this information to all of us in our own way. So, Repo Man 64. I can't get on the subject of how important you are, and it's very difficult when I start talking about it to stop, because I can't stress enough how important you are with your DNA, and I could go on with that for hours, literally hours. I could give you nonstop examples for hours of how important you are. Anyway, RepoMan64, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we will chat with you later. If you don't mind, hit the like button. I notice the algorithm helps with the video being viewed by other people. If a lot of people hit the like button, I would appreciate that. We're well over 6,000 subscribers. Who knew? Who knew? And I guess on May 23rd, I'll come back and make another video. That's 5 days, though. That's so far away. I might get too excited by May 21st and make another one. I don't know. I've been looking at May 21st for 11 years, so who knows? Maybe that's it. All right, I'll keep going. Talk to you later.